This is A Few Good Fights, proudly brought to you by the MMA Movement. I'm your host, Noel O'Keefe, and I'm joined as always by Robert Palin and Sean Taylor. This week we talk UFC Stockholm, Gustafsson retirement. We look ahead to UFC 238. We look at the Joshua fight, the fallout, the upset, the controversy of boxing with Katie Taylor, and we also educate young Sean and Sean's weird and wonderful news. So this is the big MMA news, and let's start at the fallout of Stockholm. UFC Stockholm went down this weekend, where Anthony Smith submitted Alexander Gustafsson and potentially send the Swede into retirement. And also a stunning highlight knockout of Alexander Rakic KO's Jimmy Manuwa and definitely sent him to the shadow realm. But Rob, when we talked about it last week, about this fight, we sort of, both you and I were in agreement. We sort of felt that Alexander Gustafsson is probably better everywhere as a more technical athlete fighter, but maybe that Anthony Smith is just more of a fighter. Do you think that was shown on Saturday night, or do you think that Anthony Smith sort of not spoiled? He definitely spoiled the party, but perhaps changed perception of people's how he approaches? Because I think a lot of people were still in the mindset of that John Jones fight. Yeah,
I think so, because if you watch the full fight, I thought what was happening was Alexander was just trying to play on the outside, trying to wait for Anthony Smith to make a mistake and wait for Anthony Smith to fight the way he normally fights, being super aggressive, slowing down and then getting a little bit wild. And I don't think that happened. I think Anthony Smith had a good game plan. He stuck to it. He didn't really get too wild. Like Smith fights the way he fights. He's always going to be that guy. You know, he's aggressive and he's going to come forward. But I thought he fought a really good game plan. I thought he fought with his, he didn't get too open. And I don't think Alexander really expected that to happen. I didn't think he thought that game plan would have been there. And he almost fought the way he fought John Jones, except he landed. Like against John Jones, I thought everybody was kind of talking about how, he didn't really throw a whole lot. He didn't really do too much. And he kind of fought similar here, where he threw enough. He threw definitely more. I don't think he was stifled by Alex's his techniques too much. But I thought he fought in a similar way, where he was smart. And I think as well, and the submission as well, I think will change people's opinion, because they did say it on the commentary that he is a legit black belt, and I thought he showed that. I thought it was a lovely submission. And you can talk about Alex now retiring and how did he feel coming into this one, but it's still a huge win. You can't really take anything away from Smith. That's a huge win. He proved that he wasn't just a contender because there's no other contenders in the division. He proved he's a contender because he beat the guys he has to beat. It's kind of different than how he got there in the first place. So I was very impressed. Yeah.
And to you, Sean, it's something Rob always picks on, so I don't want to sort of throw this question to Rob, but Alexander Gustafsson in the lead up to this fight had sort of said, if he can't beat the likes of Anthony Smith, where is he at? Now that's paraphrasing. But what do you think of that mentality and mind frame coming into fights, where they're talking about, if I'm not going to beat this opponent, well, that's me done?
I don't really mind that. I'd have been more worried if he was talking about, this is my last fight. I'd be more worried if he was more open about going into retirement after this fight. I think his mindset was that I will beat him, but if I don't beat him, then I shouldn't be in the sport anymore. I thought it was funny as well. John Jones tweeted after, he says, I don't believe you that you're retiring, but best of luck or whatever. So I hope he stays retired. I think he stays in retirement.
I think of all MMA retirements, it wasn't like he immediately said it, but even kind of backstage and when he was doing the post-fight presser, it wasn't complete concrete. It was like, if I won the fight, I wouldn't have retired, which is always kind of a sign that one foot is still in, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of guys... Sorry, no, go on.
No, go on, Sean, you go ahead.
You get a lot of guys as well in their head after a loss. In their mind, they're a retired fighter, and maybe the next 2 weeks he'd probably still think in his head he's retired. But then you get that itch, like they're addicted to fighting, so they'll start to get that itch again.
See, for me, what I take from Alexander Gustafsson, and people will probably disagree with me on this, but my take of Alex Gustafsson doesn't want to be a gatekeeper. He doesn't want to be the number 2 guy in the world. He wants to be the world champion. So we get 2 cracks to John Jones for that. But as we said last week coming into this, both fighters are coming off losses to John Jones. So Gustafsson in some way had an uphill struggle in order to get another matchup with John Jones if he was still the champion down the line, because he's lost to him twice, and the second one was like a wipeout really. So the fact now that he's then lost to a guy who's lost to John Jones just makes that mountain like almost like an iceberg mountain. You know, you can't see exactly how big it is because a lot of it is under the surface.
Yeah.
What an analogy. But for me, I just felt that, Gustafsson, he knows he's potentially 4, 5, maybe even 6 fights away from contention, and it doesn't help then when you have the likes of Ratchett knocking out Jimmy Manuel like in the shape he does, and all of a sudden being the new guy at 205 that everybody's talking about. Because a couple of years ago, the guy at 205 everybody was talking about as the big threat was Alexander Gustafsson. So I just think like this loss is a huge loss, impacting him going for the title. So I don't think Gustafsson wants to be hanging around for 4 or 5 fights being the guy to beat, you know?
I think that's a good point because I remember after the fight I was watching Smith's post-fight presser, and he was talking about how he hopes Alex doesn't retire, and he hopes that Alex isn't thinking that this was such a bad loss, almost like he's too above him. But I think you're probably on the line more. I don't think it's because Smith is a bad fighter, and I don't think Alex thinks Smith is a bad fighter. I just think it's that he knows that, you know, that's probably the 2 or 3 number 1 contender, and now he's lost to him, so he really has a ways to go to get back to a title fight. And he probably just feel like he doesn't have that run in him, because for a long time Alex was in the position where he just needed one win and he's probably back to a title, and now we are probably right, he needs 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 wins depending on how they go with it. So it is a tough loss.
The arena went eerily silent, wasn't it? It was like the Night King walked in or something when Anthony Smith got the choke. Like, it just, the whole place went absolutely silent. It was crazy, except for Dan Hardy absolutely losing his shit in commentary. But what's next for Anthony Smith? You know, he's vocally called out Luke Rockhold, but we know Luke Rockhold is matched against Jan Blankovic, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's matched against.
I think so. Yeah.
So, what's next for Anthony Smith? He's in that position now where, I think it's personal with him and Luke Rockhold where he wants to get that. But, like, potentially if Rockhold was to beat Jan and Smith gets a win over him, does that put him right back in title contention? Or has this win over Gustafsson done that already?
I don't know. I think Rockhold is a guy, I said it before, I think Rockhold's a guy who can get you a shot at light heavyweight title very quickly in that division, because it's not the most stacked division. He's a good name. Pretty big for middleweight at the time. So I think like another win over probably Rockhold might get him a title shot, because there is a couple of guys coming up that division. You probably still need 3 or 4 more fights before a title shot. So yeah, maybe. And he did freeze. It's not like it was, I know the victory or the loss to Jones was a shutout, but he kind of froze as well, so we didn't see the real Anthony Smith in that fight. So you can push it that way as well.
Yeah. I do agree. I think if you beat Rockhold, it's a good win, just because he has such a big name, even though he hasn't done that in the division yet. But he has a huge name that I think it does propel you there. I'm not really sure who he fights. Like, I'm looking at the rankings, and I think that's a good point. There is a few guys coming up in that division where it's kind of getting exciting now. I still don't know how they match up against John Jones. That's always the tough thing. But like, Dominic Reyes is an interesting contender, still has a ways to go. Johnny Walker, we don't know what his ceiling is. We don't really know how good he is, because he just keeps winning very, very quickly and then injuring himself in his celebration. And then we have Rakic, who, again, that was very, very impressive over, quite a good guy, a good striker. And I think we all picked the 4th round knockout for him. But like him as well, like that's another dangerous contender in the division. So I think it's definitely getting interesting, light heavyweight.
It's quite funny. We'll move on to Ratchet now, but it is quite funny as MMA pundits watching it, journalists covering it in your case, and fans watching it, how quick when somebody does something, we're like, oh, he's the next guy, and like it's like Ratchet, that was his 4th UFC fight, and all of a sudden now, the spinning back fist finish over Devin Clark was big, but like Jimmy Manuwa. This is what I said when we were talking about Jimmy Manuwa, especially in the Ozdemir fight and stuff like that. We were like, he's losing fights in the part of the battlefield where he'd win. Yeah. That's where he wants, the competition to take place. But yeah, he's done. Like I think if there was an interview with Jimmy Manuwa, he probably would have been laying his gloves down after this one, because that's a serious amount of losses in that devastating form. And I firmly believe that, just like just like anything you buy in the shops that has an expiry date, and I definitely think Jimmy Manuwa's chin is gone. Now, that's not to say that kick could have landed on absolutely anybody and they're getting knocked out. So I'm not saying Jimmy Manuwa has a weak chin for that knockout, but he just seems to be getting knocked out in devastating fashion. So either it's a reflex thing, speed, timing is off, something that I feel like, and we pointed out, I think Jimmy Manuwa, I think I said he was 38, I can't remember, 38, 39 years of age. So like he's getting up there, and for a fighter who relies on winning fights, in that style that he's getting finished in now, the fact that he's lost so like that's 3 knockout losses in his last 4 fights. So he's 4 losses, 3 knockouts. That's devastating. That's time where, as a fighter, CTE, all this type of stuff that, you know, medical wise, this is when you have to start, not just for the love of it or I'm getting old. This is becoming dangerous and getting knocked out. Like it was one of them knockouts when I was watching that I seen Radish celebrating constantly. I seen them sort of talking about it, but I'm still looking at Jimmy Manuwa's feet and they're just still pointing up to the sky and not a lot's happening there. Going, please, Jimmy, get up. Yeah. It was devastating.
It was scary, and like you said, like, is his chin expired? And it probably is, but I think another thing you said is, and it's probably more dangerous, is that he just keeps getting caught. And getting caught by devastating shots that will knock out anybody. So even if his chin is, you know, fine and he can take a shot, the fact that he just keeps getting caught with these huge bombs is a problem.
And one point as well, Rob, is that you can't say, you know, it's because he's fought, like, you know, 15 minutes hard round and he gets caught in the third round. These devastating finishes are all within inside the first minute of 2 are within the of round 1, and then the Santos was in the second round.
That was like 50 seconds, wasn't it? On Saturday, about 50 seconds in, about 40.
47 at the official clock on it. But he's just getting caught hard. But and my point being is that at the very last start of what I was saying there was Rakic, we're all guilty of going, this is the next guy. But like for him, do you slow build him? Do you know what I mean? Like what is the next step for Rakic?
I like the slow build, because I think we've seen enough guys now in the last while get a really rapid rise, like Darren Till, guys like this. So, but you don't have to go mega slow and just give him the same type of guys over and over again. But 3, 4, 5 fights to try and build him and give him a look at different styles.
Yeah.
And give him an opportunity to build towards John Jones. Like,
here's the thing with Rakic, he is not ranked yet, so he probably will be after this, because Manuwa was ranked number 11. So if he gets, if he takes Manuwa's position at 11, he still has the likes of Glover, Latifi, Corey Anderson, Ozdemir, Blachowicz, Reyes in front of him before he hits, you know, the Alexes, if he's still there, the Thiago Santos, the Anthony Smiths, and obviously John Jones. So he has plenty of guys in front of him that still make sense, that he can still fight to go up the ranks. And as Sean said, there's plenty of guys there that will show him different styles as well to see exactly what he has. But if you're just looking at his kickboxing, it's incredible. And he spoke about, he has like about 40 or 50 kickboxing bouts before he went to MMA, and he only has 1 blemish on his MMA career. So at 11-1, I think the UFC should be looking at him as a next potential contender, but give him a few fights, let him settle in and fight some other guys first.
That's what my point was going to be as well. You're not talking about a guy who is just like what his MMA record says. You're talking about a decorated kickboxer with like over 40 fights.
Yeah, that's what we were saying going in. We were like, you're looking at Manuwa as the veteran, but realistically, he wasn't the veteran here. Like the guy with more combat sports experience was Rakic, you know?
Yeah. Amir Khani got it done against Chris Fishgold. There was a little bit of tension in the weigh-ins with this one, where there was a little bit of shoving, a little bit of pushing. But yeah, it gets done with a beautiful anaconda choke. Yeah,
very impressive. Again, we spoke about it last week, that he's just not very active. And I thought, for the fact that he's not very active, I thought he looked really good there. Nice submission against a good submission guy. He has to be happy with that. And I would like to see him come back this year, because, you know, I don't know how far he can go. I'm not sure what his ceiling is, but he's a very good fighter, and I'd like to see him test himself against some of the better guys in the division, and just to see where he is exactly, because, you know, it's very difficult when you're fighting one time a year to come back and really face a contender, because nobody's going to want to fight you. You know, you're not active. Nobody's going to win anything by beating you, and that's not, you know, a declaration on his skills. It's just on the fact that he just doesn't fight. So yeah, come back this year, hopefully. Give him maybe a top 10 guy. Let's see where he is.
We'll move it along as well now. So just I have to say it was Daniel. I thought he looked fantastic against Joe. Like, I was excited to see Joe come in 9-0, champion in other promotions, and I was thinking, yeah, same sort of idea, same sort of camp sign from the same promotion as the Korean Zombie. I was really excited to him, but Teamer just put it on him from the first bell to the last.
Yeah,
I thought it was an excellent performance.
Very good. Yeah, good performance.
One that stood out as well for me was Ackman, not for the fight. I didn't realise you were allowed to wear a woolly jumper in the cage.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. He looked like what was that old wrestler's name? It would have been your time now. George the Animal Steel. Is that your time?
Yeah, it would have been.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was chatting back and forth with Phil Campbell, just chatting away as we were watching the fights. And Phil, after about a round and a half, goes, I just realised that he actually has tattoos on his arms. Like, what's the point? Like,
yeah, what's the point?
I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the tattoo was like a busted up lawnmower or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't work, like, you know what I mean?
That'd be hilarious.
Anyway, Landsberg, I think, got probably the biggest pop of the night for the home crowd as well. A big win for over Tommy Evinger. Big win. Yeah,
good performance. Just Evinger, not sure where she goes, but yeah, good win by
yeah. And can't be without saying Leonardo Santos absolutely shallow round Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray got caught, overextended, and beautiful counter that absolutely turned the lights out. But yeah, I thought all in all, Sweden, it was great watching it in the daylight.
That was nice.
And then you got to watch football, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, UFC Stockholm. That one I believe it was a football match on. I didn't catch it. But then UFC, in other news, sticking to the same region in the world, UFC announced that they're going to debut in Denmark in September. So Jack Hermansson calls for the headliner with Kelvin Gastelum. Be interesting to see. For me, just looking at it straight away, I was like, yeah, they're going to re-sign Nicholas Dalby surely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the UFC going back to that market.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are excited about it, and again, for us, a nice early card. It's always good.
Yeah.
And I like that fight. Hermansson's been a surprise, I think, in the UFC so far for a lot of people. We knew he had talent. We kind of saw him outside the UFC and even early on in the UFC, but you know, that last win was very impressive. So you know, Kelvin Gastelum, that's a tough ask, and if they do that fight, that's a really good test for him.
What about a weird ask? It's a weird ask, isn't it? Considering he's coming off the win over Jacare and Gastelum is coming off the loss to Israel. I know it was a title shot, so I was thinking there, but you know, they don't normally like doing a loser against the winner. But,
I think Gastelum came out of that fight with Adesanya with a lot of credit though, so I think it's kind of like that one as well.
Yeah, and you have like above him. I'm sure he's looking at the rankings and he's saying who's above me that I can fight, and the only other two options is Adesanya, which you're not going to get because he's going to fight Whitaker, and not going to get Whitaker. Then Yoel Romero, who I don't know when he's going to fight. You know, he's fairly rich now, even though he's not going to see that money. And
then he got $27 million.
Yeah, he's not seeing any of that. And then Luke Rockhold, who's signed.
I just lost you a little bit, so I have no idea what you just said.
Just Luke Rockhold's your option, and he's signed to fight somebody. So it's not going to happen.
We spoke as well last week actually about our European fans being sort of hoodwinked or taken for mugs. I think if that fight is made, I think that's a great headliner for a European card.
Yeah, very
well, we know they're not because I won it.
Yeah.
Taken for mugs. Sean, into your realm, the world of boxing. Andy Ruiz Jr. upsets Anthony Joshua to become the heavyweight champion. And then on the same card we'll talk about it, Taylor wins what Rob has put down as a controversial decision over Pearson. So first of all, talk to me about the little fat kid from Anthony Joshua. And this is actually before I say to you, I actually find it hilarious how much people are referring to it as that like if you actually see any clips or footage of Andy Ruiz sparring, training, like he is an athletic guy. He's just he's just not chiseled. But like
he's a pudgy guy.
Yeah, his hands
he probably has the quickest hands in the heavyweight division, and just because he's not built like a fucking Greek guy like Anthony Joshua, and he had a very close fight with Joseph Parker a couple of years ago for a world title,
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he was wrongly done in that one. He could have easily been coming into this fight as a world title holder and undefeated. Personally, I thought he'd give Joshua a hard fight. I thought it was a harder fight than the guy who popped for Everton and Anderson before it. But I thought Joshua would just get to him later on because of the short camp. But yeah, mega surprised. He dropped Joshua 4 times and he was dropped himself.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think of Joshua though? Was that sort of because again, I will fully confess that I'm not the biggest boxing fan in the world. I don't follow Anthony Joshua too much on the what we would call a casual. I'll join in for the big fights, but Joshua, like a lot of people are saying, yeah, that shows that he's a fake and a fraud. That has to be bullshit, surely, Sean.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I mean, you don't get 3 legit world titles without not be, or being a fraud. And he beat a lot of guys who are still contenders for those world titles. And he beat them like very early in 16th, 17th, 18th pro fights. And it took Wilder. I mean, I'm not a big Wilder fan. I think he talks a lot of shit. He should have a loss on his record as well after the Tyson Fury fight. That's a talk for another day. But Wilder hasn't fought anywhere near, or Wilder didn't fight anywhere near those caliber guys till maybe his 35th fight or something. So no, he's not. For me, he's not a fraud. But for me, his chin isn't the best. He was put down against Klitschko, who obviously hits very hard. Ruiz put him down 4 times. He's an athletic freak. He's one of those guys who I think could probably play like NBA, NFL, and do it very well. He's not the most technically gifted, but he's a brawler. And I think sometimes he gets caught in between styles, trying to stick too safe and actually going for the kill. I think if he actually just went for the kill, he probably would have finished him off in the 3rd when he had him down.
Champions, you carry yourself in a champion's way, and you know, a world champion, you know, I thought Joshua took his defeat very well and was very gracious in defeat. But also when you look at the other 2 heavyweights, the difference in what Deontay Wilder said on Twitter in comparison to what Tyson Fury said on Twitter, that's the difference in class. Wilder, I think the next day put up sort of a classy post, but I'd say that's his PR team were saying to him, look man, look what Tyson's getting out of this and stuff. But yeah, we'll come back to KD in a minute. But on that, they've confirmed that the rematch is happening with Fury and Wilder. Weirdly, both of them have matchups before. Is that a regular thing in boxing? I know it is in like the lower early professional rankings. But like let's say for example, what happens to Anthony Joshua happens to either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. That throws the rematch out, surely. So it's weird announcing it.
Yeah, that would throw the rematch down the shitter, like really, because there'll be rematch clauses in those fights that they have currently lined up. But what's weird about it, well, like it's ironic that it came during Joshua's fight week. I think really. Yeah. I think that was the main play there, is that like, because the questions have been asked, obviously people expected Joshua to win, and they were like, okay, we want Joshua Wilder next. Wilder, there's obviously the debate. I don't know what side people fall on with Joshua Wilder, who's ducking, who's diving, but people, Wilder, was invited to the Joshua fight, didn't go. So obviously there's a lot of questions around why didn't you go? You know, make a big fuss, annoy him, or just make a statement or whatever. So then he just puts out that there's 2 fights coming up. He's fighting Ortiz next, and then he's fighting Fury. So I think that was the main play there.
Katie Taylor, I know we had a little chat about this in a little WhatsApp group, and a lot of people are calling controversy. Now, when I watched the fight, I felt Katie Taylor won the fight in the earlier rounds of the fight. So from round 1 to 6, she was landing successful shots, while Pursuing was landing. She's a scrapper. Like her technique, she's not as clean or technical as Katie Taylor, but in the professional ranks, it's not all about just technique. And I definitely thought Pursuing won the latter rounds of the fight. But for me, I thought Katie Taylor done just enough to win it. I said in our WhatsApp group, skin of her teeth. And I still stand by it. I do think she got the win, but like I said, it's people forget the early rounds and they see Pursuing pouring it on in the latter rounds, and not scored like Muay Thai, where if you were the one leading the dance come near the end, that sometimes the fight goes your way. But for me, I have no problem with it. And I honestly, like, I wouldn't be screaming robbery if Pursuing had been given it as well. But I do think Taylor just done enough. But it warrants a rematch, surely.
Yeah, they'll do the rematch. There was a rematch clause in there anyway if Katie had lost. They'll do the rematch in the UK, I'd imagine. But yeah, for me as well, seriously close fight, so you can't be screaming robbery either way. And I said it in the chat last night, I've seen enough decisions go against Irish fighters. Norman Park, Mick Conlon.
Yeah.
Dennis Hogan as well a few months ago got robbed against Jamie Munguia for a world title. So I've seen enough decisions go against Irish fighters that I'm not going to be too sad about us not, or about us maybe getting one.
Yeah, I thought it was close. I did score it to Person, but it was very, very close. And I have to call people out on social media for being idiots, because I've seen so many people saying, I can't believe some Irish people scored the fight to Person. Support your own. There's a difference between saying who won a fight and supporting somebody going into it. You fucking idiots. And yeah, but I had it even going into 8. And then I thought Person probably won 8 and 9. Going
9
into 9. I thought she won 9 and 10. But yeah, it was close. And she's just like a horrible boxer. Not in like she doesn't have skills. She just seems horrible to fight. And you could see that Taylor, I don't know if she wasn't expecting it, because I'm sure she watched footage on this girl, and I'm sure that's the way she fights all the time. But it seemed like Taylor just struggled with the gas tank a little bit in the later rounds.
What gets me with Taylor as well is like she's so much technically more. She was a superior technical boxer.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But Katie Taylor, to coin the phrase, she absolutely loves a knock.
I know.
Like she lets that ego, and this is what I tweeted actually. She lets her ego get in the way of that, and she'll fight that fight.
Sure, what round was it?
What an ego.
What round was it? Like, it was like 5 or 6.
Starts waving her on.
5 or 6. No, not even that, but 5 or 6 where she actually started to box a little bit, and she was just hooking Person for the whole round and just slapping her around, and it looked easy. And then, no, it could have been the gas tank again going. It might have been a bit of both her, just having that fight in her. But there was around there, like midway through the fight, where she was just playing with her a little bit, and I was like, she just should keep doing this.
Well, yeah, do you know what's crazy about it is, and I think this comes into the perceptions, especially of Irish casual boxing fans that would tune in. And I'm guilty of that. I'm quite, but like I'd always watch, the Irish fighters fight, but like we're so used to seeing Katie Taylor run away with fights. Yeah. Like where the scorecards at the end are judges have scored this 100 versus 92. Do you know what I mean? And they're used to that. So when they seen Katie Taylor in a close fight and people are saying, Jesus, Pursuit could have won that, they're like, no, you're not fucking, you know what I mean? So they're just so used to seeing it run away. But I think the situation, it was the opportunity to do something never done before in women's boxing. So Katie Taylor is a phenomenal boxer, phenomenal athlete, and God forbid if she had a little bit of pressure on her shoulders, that might have been telling. But she was in there against probably her best opponent, and I think something that Katie Taylor needed was somebody like Pursuit, where this is now happening because people are talking about it, rather than she just beat the face off another girl.
Exactly, and there's a narrative now as well. You know that Taylor, at least in this fight, she struggled a little bit with that pressure. Now Pursuit knows that. Now people know that. So when they do the rematch, people are going to be like, oh, how is Taylor going to adjust to that pressure and that, the onslaught that she brings? And it's going to, I can't wait to see the rematch if it happens.
I think part of the thing with the ego as well is, if you're only even somewhat of a boxing fan, what other female boxer do you know? Like, she's the front woman for female boxing. She's getting people talking. She's the one putting bums on seats to watch female boxing. I think part of the ego thing is trying to bring in an audience to watch it. And that's why she does love a tear up.
Yeah.
Because in the amateurs it's different when you just clean up around her,
Yeah. Phenomenal. UFC Sacramento is taking shape with Aspen Ladd taking on Jermaine the Randami headlining. Some fans aren't happy though. It's not like MMA fans not to be happy with a card that hasn't taken place and that names are written down on a piece of paper. Other standouts are the return of Uriah Faber taking on Ricky Simon. You've basically taken on Josh Emmett. That's a great fight. Just gone through. But yeah, people aren't happy. Is this just the mentality of MMA fans that were sort of a little boo-hoo unless the big names aren't on the card? Or is it just a case of too many cards, too often, they can't stick on big fights? Rob.
Yeah, I think people are more annoyed about the main event. And I think they're kind of projecting that annoyance on the whole card because, as you said, if you look down the whole card, it is quite good. Like, it is really, really good. I think people are just annoyed about that main event, and I understand it in a certain sense because I think people have soured a little bit to Jermaine the Randami just because of, her dropping the title when she didn't defend it. The fight being controversial with Holly Holm anyway. So I think people are a bit soured on her. I think, Aspen Ladd, she's still young, but people are excited to see her. But I don't know if they're really, ready to accept her as a main event, especially on this ESPN Plus thing now. So, yeah, I think people are annoyed about the main event. I just thought it was hilarious that Dana White was on Twitter absolutely wrecking people. Like saying, if you don't like it, don't show up. Don't come to the event. Basically, fuck off. And it's just, I always just find it really funny that the president of this, this like, what was it, 6 billion? It's over 6 billion, and he's on social media telling people to fuck off. He's like so like Donald Trump. It's funny. It's funny.
Well, my thing with this would be is that they talk about you have to promote women's MMA. So when they do put them as main event, people give out. So how do you want them to promote? You can't just be burying women's MMA fights and lower down the card just to have them on, because then it's just like a token gesture. The girls are on the card. So in order to push women's MMA, they have to promote them as the main event. So I like watching Aspen Ladd fighting, and I hope she batters their enemy for cheating in the belt and then being terrified to fight Cyborg. So
strong enough fight to hold up as an event to hold up a card. They're propping up the whole card.
See, I'm weird with MMA. I don't think of MMA as boxing with a main event. Do you know what I mean? As in Joshua Ruiz. I think of a card as a whole. Like you could turn up to a UFC show, and if you've bought a ticket and you turn up, and the first fight of the night on the prelims could be the best fight. And that's, you see, what I think is different about building a card in MMA. Now, I understand, obviously, when you have bigger names on top of a pay-per-view or whatever, it's going to attract more people. And for that side, but me as an MMA fan, I look at it differently. I'm not promoting it. So, like, if you take that card, for example, like the best fight of the night could easily be Darren Elkins, Ryan Hall. Do you know what I mean? It could be
Doubtful.
Carl Robertson and John Phillips. Yeah, I'm just using an example.
Well, it might be.
You know what I mean? It could be any of them.
Yeah, I think.
Good card. There's good names on it.
Yeah, but I think what a lot of people are arguing is that, like, you need to have a main event in place, and it should kind of build around that. But then, to be fair to the UFC, if you ask them, why do you have this as the main event, and you ask them kind of the questions that, like, you want the main event to be, highly ranked fighters, matter in the division, all this kind of stuff, and yeah, basically all that kind of stuff that most kind of hardcore fans will talk about. Aspen Ladd is number 4. Jermaine Durandamine is number 1, so she's like the top ranked contender in the division. So, like, it is an important fight in the division. It's an important fight in the division. So,
but no, I genuinely think it is. Like, if you put that, let's say, in the featherweight division, and this number 4 against number 1 in the featherweight division is the main event, people aren't going to give out about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like who's Moicano fighting next? Moicano's fighting somebody who's highly ranked, Korean Zombie. Like, they're not the same names as them. I think they have bigger names, and it sounds like a bigger fight. But I don't know what they are ranked, but I'd say it's similar. I'd say it's like 2 and 4, 2 and 5. So, like, rankings wise, it makes sense.
So my point is that MMA fans are just sexist. Moving on with some other news, this is something that just jumped out to me, was Conor McGregor tweeting at Mark Goddard. Basically, he shows what it did. Conor McGregor's tweet was when he beat, it's Dave Hill, wasn't it? He said, what a great milestone in Irish MMA history. The behaviour of Britain's Mark Goddard in the corner that night was horrendous. Burst into the cage and attacked referee Neil Hall in between rounds. That fight was still in play. Crazy behaviour for an up-and-coming referee. Anyway, to which Mark Goddard responded going, "Hi Conor, been a while. I refereed your very next fight after that, when you became the champ for the first time. Remember? Congratulations on all your business success inside and outside of the game that you helped change forever. Hope to see you fight soon again. Sláinte."
Okay.
So
can you fill me in on what that was? Because I can't remember.
So
the fight where he subbed a man, where he got the rear naked choke.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, in between rounds, Goddard was coming in and giving Neil Hall, the referee, a bit of stick in between rounds. So Conor, it's just a weird one for Conor to pull out at that time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are saying, so this is why you and Goddard, there's a bit of history there with Goddard and McGregor. It's gone back a long time, like, in fairness. And this could be, I think, in some ways, the explanation of what it was. Conor became champion, the rear naked choke. Conor around on that one. I think in that sense, he's kind of 10-9.
Yeah, classy response.
Yeah, well, I think it had to be. Sometimes Mark has even admitted himself. Like he had to stop doing that. What was it called? Listen with Dan Hardy. It was brilliant. I think they only had 2 or 3 episodes, and he felt he had to stop because he was talking too publicly about something. So I think he felt he needed to pull back on biting back at people and stuff like that. I think. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know. Goddard could be listening, going, "Shut up now! They're talking absolute shite." But yeah, I thought it made sense for Mark Goddard in the position he's in. In my opinion, I think Goddard is the best referee in the game.
I think so. Right now, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Have you seen any more news today, Sean, yourself? Anything come across your table?
No.
Should
it have?
No, I'm just wondering. Just see if any more.
I haven't.
Yeah. I just saying a thing on.
Go
ahead.
I was just kind of in line with McGregor there. Coach Cat was tweeting saying that Drake, if he comes near the gym, is getting a roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
Get rid of that course. So if he sees him come near SBG, he's getting a roundhouse kick.
Yeah. He's seems to be a course.
I didn't see that tweet for obvious reasons.
Of course, yeah. I wonder why. I just seen this thing on Twitter that apparently, I'm a big movie fan, but apparently Channing Tatum could play Ian Heinisch in a biopic coming up. They're looking to make his story into a movie. And if you don't know Ian Heinisch's story, it's insane. But I just read this in the article. It says, so this is kind of a synopsis of what it is, and it kind of gives you a glimpse of his life because it was fucking mad. From fleeing Colorado to surviving a failed jail system of the United States and then spending time battering himself while locked up in Spain. That's like a part of his story. Sounds good. But yeah, I'd like to see that.
Himself while in Spain.
Yeah,
just like he was on the interweb looking at it.
Yeah, so it does, yeah. But yeah, he's had an absolutely mad life. But there's not that many good MMA films, so I'd be interested in seeing a good one. Warrior's the only one I can think of.
Never Back Down, Rob.
Never Back Down. It's fucking hell.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I seen number 1. Terrible.
You telling me Tito Ortiz doesn't star in many brilliant MMA movies? Or?
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, I had to watch Warrior 3 times before I realised that was Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like himself.
Koba. Yeah.
You've never seen so many omoplatas in one night of mixed martial arts than he did in that movie.
Yeah, actually, that's very true.
it was still good. Yeah, let's keep it rolling and let's move on to the fights this weekend. We have the bantamweight title on the line, potential opportunity for champ status for Henry Cejudo. He takes on the dangerous Marlon Moraes. So Henry Cejudo is looking to get champ status. He is taking on Marlon Moraes for the 35 belt. And I genuinely am more excited about this match than I was the TJ Dillashaw.
Well, how come?
I just think there's I just think a different wrinkle in this fight. While with Cejudo against TJ, it was more. I thought it was built more around TJ going down. Yeah. It was all TJ, and when Cejudo done what he done, now taking on someone with the finishing power of Marlon Moraes and stuff, it just all of a sudden it just has that increase of, oh, Cejudo's not just an Olympic gold wrestler, like, do you know what I mean? He's got other aspects, and then as well, the submission arsenal as well that Moraes holds as well. If he does get the takedown, the possibility is there as well. Serious ground and pound as well. So I just think there's more wrinkles to this fight. I think it's an incredible matchup.
I think it's really, really fun. And to be honest, I'm very torn on who I think will win it. I think it's a very competitive fight. We spoke about it a few weeks ago with PT Carroll about guys moving up and down weight classes, and I don't know what the data actually is. I'd love to see the numbers on the success rate of guys moving up, but I wouldn't say it's that high, especially moving up against the top guys in the division. It's different if you're going up and you're fighting whoever a top 15 ranked fighter rather than number 1. So I find this really interesting. I think it's a very, very competitive fight, and I am torn on it, but I do agree. I'm quite excited about it.
And Sean,
cracking fight, yeah.
To your point, Sean, Cejudo is the smaller fighter with a bigger reach.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and like Rob was saying, he's struggling to pick. The prices are 10 to 11 and 5 to 6. So bookies can't split them either. So Yeah.
So who's the favourite? Who's the slight favourite?
Moraes by like 0.07.
Ooh. I wonder what Tapology thinks. Tapology is all on Marlon Moraes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 65% to 35%.
Would you say some of that is about Cejudo? A lot of people don't like Cejudo, the way he goes on with the gold medals. I think there might be a bit of that as well.
I think he's embraced that and made it his own. Though.
I like it. I think it's funny.
Really do. I think a lot of what people might be looking at Moraes for when you look at that Aljamain Sterling fight where Sterling launched in for the takedown and he absolutely cracked him with the knee.
Yeah.
Like Moraes has that muscle twitch reaction that if Cejudo goes with not saying an Olympic medalist, gold medalist is gonna go with some sort of lazy takedown, but there's on the CV of Moraes is a knockout finish from somebody trying to get a takedown. I'm with Moraes in this one as well. I just think I think when a fighter goes down, he's carrying more power, etc., from going down. It's all about the weight cut, but when a fighter's going up, it's weird because I'm probably really only thinking this more so because looking at Max Holloway go up and just the difference in size, the difference in power, and just you're more comfortable in your body. You're used to carrying that extra weight. Plus as well, Marlon Moraes just has the death touch as well, and that weight class, he's just a killer. Like some of his knockouts on his record and finishes are just like
incredible, disgusting.
Like there's just serious wins. Like how impressive the Jimmy Rivera one was. You know what I mean? And Rivera was, a guy that was first loss in his career. Like you know what I mean? A guy that was really touted. Someone we spoke to Rob previously on another version of this show. And like we were like, yeah, this guy's a future champion, and he does him within the first minute. He's I just think he's a special athlete. I just think he's going to stop the takedowns, and the threat of the takedown, Cejudo will have the fear of repeating the Aljamain Sterling incident. I just think he has it, and he's fought similar style fighters to Cejudo, maybe not to the level of his grappling, obviously, but fighters who will try and implement that style, and Moraes comes out of it. So yeah, I just think momentum is currently with Marlon Moraes, even though Henry Cejudo coming off arguably the biggest win, back-to-back wins in his career. I just think Moraes is he's more comfortable in his body right now, and at that weight class, and I think that's going to be the telling factor. And I'm going to go with Marlon Moraes. I'm going to go with a finish as well.
Well, I'm going to go with Moraes as well. I think, being settled at that weight class and what he's shown since his kind of early stumbles in the UFC, and the fact that he beat by finish both Jimmy Rivera and Assunção, who, are very, very difficult fighters to beat. And if you're going to beat them, generally it's by a decision because they're hard to finish. The fact that he finished them, and I say his confidence is sky high after that because Assunção was like so difficult to look good against, like ridiculous. It's so hard to look good against him, and he did. Cejudo has changed a lot, I thought, over the years, and his striking has got a lot better, and he's got more comfortable striking. I think he will try strike with Moraes for a while, and even if he goes for takedowns, I think the size of Moraes, his footwork, can be a problem here. And I remember listening to a Frankie Edgar interview where he was talking about how big Marlon Moraes is, because he was talking about him fighting at featherweight. Edgar himself, and the fact that Moraes is a much bigger guy than him, and Moraes fights at 135. So I think the size difference is going to be big here. And Moraes has not really shown any gas problems. He can fight over 5 rounds fine. So yeah, I'm going to go Moraes to win. But I think Cejudo's always been underestimated in MMA, I think. So you never know. But yeah, Moraes wins decision.
Young Taylor.
We've got a full house for Moraes, I think, because if this was flyweight, I'd probably pick Cejudo. I picked Cejudo against TJ. It's hard looking at the Max fight and other recent examples of lads going up. You have to build up at that weight. You can't just. It's not as simple as moving up and just being at that weight class. You have to grow into it. Your body changes when you're moving up in weight because you're sparring at a different weight. You're training at a different weight. All that stuff. Even with being a shorter man and longer reach, I think I'm going to pick Moraes.
Nice.
Nice.
Co-main is for the 125 strawweight strap. Valentina Shevchenko taking on Jessica Oi. Like for me, this is a weird fight. I know a lot of people are giving out with Jessica Oi getting the title shot. She's on a 3-fight win streak, so she is ranked. I said straw. Sorry, it's fly, isn't it? She is ranked number 2 in the world. So it's she has to fight it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But like, I just think Shevchenko she's the all-round better fighter. I just think Jessica Oi can make it ugly, and that's how, if she's going to win the fight, that's potentially it. But you could also just see an absolute clinic being put on here by Shevchenko, which is my pick. That will happen. But Jessica Oi can make it ugly and make it awkward. That's our only real opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I don't see anything but a Valentina win here. I really don't. Like Jessica, like I was watching the fights the other night, and they done a promo for this fight. I just thought it was very funny. Like Jessica is on a 3-fight win streak, which is excellent. But I think it was Daniel Cormier. He goes, Jessica, all she's been doing is winning lately. And then you go lately, because if you go back to 3 fights ago, she was on like a 4 or 5 fight losing streak. So there's that. But there's nobody else you can really give it to at this division. So it's fine, but I just don't see anything but a Valentina win. Like, she's a much better striker by miles. It's not even close. And I think she's shown that her grappling is really good. And I think if it hits the floor, I don't think there's a problem there. Anybody can get caught in MMA, does that. But Valentina all day here, all day.
I presume she's a big favourite, Sean, is she?
Oh.
I was just going to say, I think she's the biggest favourite I've ever seen in a fight at this level.
Tapology community.
Let me guess.
96%.
Had to be something like that, yeah. I was going to say 90%.
Do you want to guess at the price?
What's the price?
I'd say has logged in and picked herself.
The price is, looking at them, so Jessica I is 13-2. If that takes a fancy, it's probably still a bit short even for me. I probably wouldn't back that. Valentina Shevchenko is 1-12, so you put on €12 to win €1.
Wow, that must be.
I think
that must be the biggest
title fight.
Yeah, for a title fight probably. Like the last time, like I remember looking at like really wide odds. I remember Cejudo beat Nogueira like in Pride years ago. I think that was like similar. It was like 1-10 or something like that. Not even quite.
Even Jones has only been around 1-7, 1-6 and stuff. So to put it into context.
That's fucking insane.
Wow. Great fight that is there on the card because of title fights is the return of El Cucuy. Tony Ferguson takes on the Cowboy, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. This is a fun fight. Interesting fact is, typical Cowboy Cerrone is he only competed in May. Like at the 1st of May, he beat Alaquinta 5 rounds decision. So a lot of people were surprised that he was taking this fight against Tony Ferguson on like basically a month's notice. Big factor here is where's Tony Ferguson mentally, I think, coming into this. I think that's the biggest ask in his question. Ferguson hasn't fought himself since Pettis? That was back in October?
Yeah.
So it was the McGregor card.
Yeah, so, a long time out in that time. Well, it's actually not that long. It's 8 months. But, considering what he's been through in that time, in that 8 months, it's crazy to think that... Ferguson's fought 3 times.
Yeah. I have no big break then. I'm all about the daddy cowboy train. Daddy cowboy is unbeaten. So.
What do you think, Rob?
There's so many questions. Like there's just too many questions going into this fight that it's difficult to parse. I'm gonna go Ferguson. Not happy with going with him because I think mentally. The turnaround, I'm not sure where he is. And then like the fact that Tony Ferguson, if you go back and look at his last few fights, Anthony Pettis, he was in trouble. Kevin Lee was in trouble. Lando Venati, he was in trouble, and big trouble in that fight. So like, Donald Cerrone, if he does catch him and he's in trouble against Cerrone, I don't know if Cerrone's going to let him off the hook. But I'm going to go with Ferguson because I think Ferguson is the overall better fighter. But I think there's so many questions going in that, it's not a fun one. I wouldn't bet on it.
I'm on the Ferguson one on this one as well. Cowboy Cerrone, I never used to pick against this man.
You pick against them all the time.
Now you do,
I do. No,
and you say it as well.
No, but my reason being for this one is Tony Ferguson is almost like the kryptonite of Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He'll be the guy, he'll be talking nonsense to him, disrespecting him, showing him absolutely no respect in the cage. Now, KOd is getting respect by people in the cage by fucking knocking them out or beating the shit out of them. But I just think, I've always thought that Ferguson is the bad matchup for Cerrone, the same way Nate Diaz was the same one. He's just going to be on you. And even as you pointed out, it's actually great, a caveat to what you said. Like, Pettis had him hurt, Lee had him hurt. The Lando Vanada basically had him out of there.
Yeah.
But Ferguson kept coming forward. He's El Kukui, like he's fucking nuts. And he just doesn't give it up. And he's so awkward in his beautiful techniques. Like, his techniques are horrendous. Like, you only have to look at how awkward he is by looking at him doing a deadlift. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just insanely awkward in everything he does. And his techniques are phenomenal. He really embraces the madness inside the cage, while I feel Cerrone is that more technical guy. And I just think that pressure of Tony Ferguson is the kryptonite. Now, the caveat to that, I suppose, as well, is where is Tony Ferguson right now? Because Donald Cowboy Cerrone right now, I would say, is in the best purple patch of his career with the opponent. He looks incredible. But I do believe a month out from a 5-round fight over Alaquinte is too quick of a turnaround.
Yeah, potentially.
Jimmy Rivera takes on Petr Yan as well. Let's blast through these because time is getting of the essence of us as well. So Rivera will be looking to get back to his winning ways. The loss over Aljamain Sterling was a big loss from the, considering there was a lot of rivalry there. Both sort of same area as each other as well, and that was a lot of back and forth. But against Petr Yan, he got his hands full here, Rob.
I think so. Yeah, I think Petr Yan has been nothing but impressive since coming into the UFC. His performances, I think, have caught the eye of so many people. Like, when I go online, I look at best prospects, I always see his name come up. And I'm going to go with him here. I think Rivera's, again, I said it earlier on, he's so tough to fight. It's hard to look good against him. But I think Aljamain Sterling showed away, and I think Marlon Moraes as well. Obviously, that was a big knockout. I'm going to go with Petr Yan. There's no reason why I shouldn't pick against him because he's looked so impressive so far. So, yeah, Petr Yan.
Yeah, I agree. I just think he's going to be... he'll probably go to the judges' scorecards. He's the type of fighter that just beats you up for the entirety of the fight. He just is relentless in his style of fighting and what he does. A former champion as well, coming out of ACB as well. So I don't know, Rivera, he just looks, I don't know, like his loss just seems to affect him, that big loss against Marlon Moraes. I know he beat that, but that Aljo one, very interesting. But in some ways I want to see Jimmy Rivera come back because we've spoke with Jimmy before. He's a fucking super nice guy and he's a fucking badass, but I just felt he wasn't pulling the trigger against Aljamain Sterling. I think if he adjusts that and takes that out of there, he could certainly. This is a very winnable fight for him. Big power in both hands as well, Rivera. So interesting fight. This is one that I certainly wouldn't want to bet on. I'm saying Yan, but nowhere near surprised if Jimmy Rivera returns to the form that we've seen in the cage before.
Yeah,
Yan's quite a big favourite as well. He's 27, and Jimmy Rivera is 5-2. So
interesting.
I'm surprised by that, and a huge discrepancy as well on Tapology community. 86% for Yan.
I had a feeling that'd be big because people are all over Yan. Tai
Tuivasa and Ivanov in the heavyweight division opens the card. I love a heavyweight scrap. 10 against 14. What's your take on this one?
I think Tai Tuivasa should win this fight. I thought Ivanov last time out against Ben Rothwell was very lucky to get that decision. I thought Rothwell won that fight. I was actually very surprised by that decision. I think Tai Tuivasa is the bigger puncher. He's the more athletic guy. He's the bigger guy as well. Ivanov isn't huge for heavyweight. It's big dude, but not huge for heavyweight. If it goes to decision and Tai Tuivasa kind of, gets a little bit tired because sometimes his gas does go, I can see Ivanov maybe taking some late rounds, but I think Tuivasa should win this fight. I'll go with Tuivasa by knockout.
I'm in agreement. Be just interesting interesting to see how Tuivasa comes back after that big loss against Junior Dos Santos, because that was almost the fight that if he had won that fight, he was in the stardom land, if you like. And you know, Junior Dos Santos I think a better all-round MMA fighter than Ivanov. Ivanov has absolute power in both hands as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tuivasa, and I'll get him out of there. Second round knockout.
Yeah, Tuivasa a well backable price as well. He's 4-6, so I like that as well.
Nice.
Excellent. And jump out on the Tatia Suarez, I suppose, is
the big fight.
On the undercard.
Yeah, the undercard's actually pretty good. Yeah, the undercard's actually pretty good. Yeah,
like it's quite funny to think we were talking about disappointment in the card previous with Aspen Ladd and things headliner. Like you look at the fights of this, like you've Joanne Calderwood fighting on it, you've Eddie Wineland fighting on it. Do you know what I mean? There's some great matchups there, and there Ricardo Lamas, Calvin Kattar. Holy shit, the undercard is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Carolina against Lasso. Holy shit, this undercard is unreal.
Hugh Kagan against Calderwood is the opener. Like, that's a big fight in that division. Calderwood's looking good.
Jesus, that's an undercard.
Yeah.
Fight night card, really.
Hashtag question. Yeah, is this better? Is the prelim card of this better than most fight night cards, or is this? Jesus, this is so much better than an ESPN card.
Let us know in the comments. Is this is the undercard worthy of a main card for a fight night? Let us know.
Like Muniz Aljamain Sterling, that's a headliner.
I know. It's great.
It's an unbelievable card. Unbelievable card. So there you go. Tune in on Saturday night for a few good fights. Quality stuff. But let's move it on. Let's get his bag out and let's get the homework done and let's grade him. It's time for educating young Sean. Sean, we'll start with the one that Rob gave you. So we'll go with Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler. Someone that I was actually shocked you hadn't seen this fight, because I know you've talked openly about Robbie Lawler before. So what did you take of this one?
Firstly, I want to say great work on the fights this week, lads. Two absolute wars. This one, Robbie Lawler. I think Robbie Lawler loves making fights like this. Just for me, he loves a fucking tear up, is what he does. What a great fight. Johnny Hendricks looks damn good in this fight. That fifth round, he came out and won it. I had a 2-2 going into the fifth, and he came out and won the fifth. He had Lawler hurt, and then he scored a takedown. Like the fight managing to have it in your head, fifth round, you've been in a bit of a war, and he has him hurt, and he doesn't look for the finish. He just secures the takedown there. It's brilliant. Like, really good fight.
Scoring it out of 5 championship rounds.
I was getting a 5.
Nice.
Great fight.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because there was a bit of technical stuff in it. Like it was a really good technical fight as well. Hendricks, look, his striking was so crisp, and then it was a brawl at times as well. Lawler just stood in front of him laughing when he was walking forward. It was brilliant.
Pressure on my one now. WEC 48. The year was 2010. Leonard Garcia taking on Korean Zombie. Talk to me.
I loved this fight as well for similar reasons, but different. This one was just a brawl. This was a kind of fight you'd see outside, and Leonard Garcia absolutely swinging for the bleachers in this fight. First round, he is swinging, an absolute brawl. One guy's hurt, then the next guy's swinging, and he just gets chinned. I don't know how either guys did. Fight pass is quite annoying sometimes because when I was watching this, how is this fight going on? But then you see how long is left on fight pass. You're like 15 minutes left, and you're like, sick. But both guys had amazing chins. What a war as well.
I always find that as well when you're watching. When you click onto it, you see part 5 of the video.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Right. So again, out of that one, championship rounds. Are we getting 2 fights here? Or what are we getting?
Yeah, we've 2 fights this week, boys. The first. Great work.
So if you haven't watched them. If you haven't watched them, this is one that I think that's the first week we've got 2 5 championship rounds. So these are 2
fights. These are 2 fights as well. I'd ask people to watch if they hadn't watched any MMA fights as well before.
Sweet.
So there you go.
Great fight.
We got Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler and Leonard Garcia, Korean Zombie. Go check them out and educate yourself along with young Sean. So Rob, we've actually all of a sudden now got a lot of pressure on us for this week. So what fight have you got this week for Sean?
I hope he hasn't seen this one. This was from 2013. It was on the UFC 166 card, which was Velasquez dos Santos 3. but the fight is Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez.
No, I haven't seen it, but I have seen a bit of both fighters, so that one sounds like a bit of a war to me.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm in the position where I'm not 100% if you've given them this fight. So I have a couple of backups here. This will tell you how much I don't pay attention when Rob's giving out fights. Ultimate Fighter 6 finale. Rob, no? Are you giving this?
I don't think so.
There was an Ultimate Fighter fight, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Roger Huerta versus Clay Guida.
I give that.
there was a Clay Guida fight, but no, I don't think that was it.
Phenomenal
Perfect.
fight.
So Roger Huerta versus Clay Guida, and like I said, this is back in 2007, Sean. So like you were probably shitting in your pants at that stage, were you?
Just out of that stage, actually.
Great stuff.
Still is.
So that's your fights, Sean, for next week. So it'll be interesting to see, Rob, do we pull back to 2-5 championship rounds and them ones. But let's get to the part of the week. It's weird. It's wonderful. You know it's Sean's weird news. So Sean, what have you got for us this week?
First up, we have a little clip from Rising, which was on at the weekend, and it's of a man, as you would say, Noel, getting shadow realmed.
Kind from my cousin.
Ho, ho. That was grim.
Oh, look at the accuracy in that elbow. And then he follows it. Holy shit, how many shots are that there? Oh, big elbow.
The poor guy's
1,
eyes
2,
on the back.
3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
4 shots, and he has the look of a great white shark.
And he was out there as well. You could see his head bounced off the canvas.
That's a beautiful short elbow, isn't it? Man, not utilised enough.
Tension also fought at Rising. Tension, obviously, of Mayweather fame, but you know that wasn't his best. But yeah, he won by another body shot. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was sick.
Wow, that was sick.
Next up, we have a tweet, obviously, from the boxing as well. And I never thought about this before, but it just made me think of the difference. You were talking earlier, Noel, about the difference in how cards are viewed, and this one kind of made me laugh as well. So this guy tweeted, "My God," at some of these tweets, obviously after watching Ruiz KO Anthony Joshua. "Only in boxing is an enormous upset TKO considered something catastrophic and not fucking awesome."
Yeah,
in comparison to MMA. So yeah, I thought that was a very good point.
A lot of people are actually comparing it to, funny I'm wearing this, that's unintentional, but Rocky, like he's the Mexican Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great point because I don't know what it is. A lot of people look at boxing more of a business, don't they, than in MMA?
Yeah.
And they look at the business side of it. Oh, it's a terrible business move or business negative now for thing.
Yeah, Joshua, like a loss is considerably it can ruin a career in boxing. Well, we were speaking about Kelvin Gastelum earlier. His loss to Israel Adesanya looking good. So that's the difference, I think, of the two sports.
Yeah.
And next up, we have a tweet or an Instagram post from Darren Till. So he actually just tweeted out someone's song that he liked, and he was trying to give him a bit of publicity. And someone replied in a comment and said, "How much he pay you for this?" And Till replied in classic Till fashion. He said, "I could think you're mad tonight."
That's wonderful.
Thought that was very funny.
Fair play to him.
Darren Till. Yeah,
Jordan Ravenhill.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, check it. It's a good song. I never heard it. I looked it up after that. It's a good song, but the reply is absolutely epic. He said, "I could finger your man tonight."
That's
classic,
hilarious.
Darren Till. Classic. I seen him away at some football match as well. Been pretty happy.
Yeah.
Must have been a local thing, that.
Yeah, it must have been a local game. So this has been A Few Good Fights, episode 14. Thanks for tuning in as always and joining us at home. As we've said before and at the start of the show, when it's a bank holiday in Ireland, we film from home because we don't get into studio. But if you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit the bell, make them bells ring, so you don't miss out on any future videos. But this has been a sunny episode from Dublin, Ireland, which is always interesting when it's sunny. But we'll see you next week when we're back in studio. But until then, peace.
So apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications
here.
down the bottom.
Make sure you hit it and they get the ringer things because Rob didn't know. So it's the button there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around that area.